Hi, everybody. I'm coming on very this evening and trying to get my thoughts together to come on. I hope you can hear me. We are at day one. Let me look because it is late, and I hope I can do this. I hope I can do this justice. If not, I'm going to have to come on tomorrow early because it's just absolutely breaking news. That's what's happening. Absolutely breaking news. So let's see. Hope everybody had a really reflective Ash Wednesday. Yeah, so we are at day 2028. Oh, does it say 27? Did I not change it? Maybe I didn't change it right. I'll have to go in there and correct it. Just really, such breaking news and so many implications and so many things that we have learned today, and I have to share it right away. So here we go. Day 2027 since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss for being a whistleblower, for being a whistleblower against this entire pipeline. This entire pipeline. People have to understand Richard was the whistleblower, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier. It's just huge. And and it was big for all the effort that went into trying to compromise him, trying to silence him, retaliating against him, and doing the counter intelligence with El Mayo's lawyer, um, the 15 plus agencies, the silence in the media with everything that we found from Nadal Baim, with Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. All of this really betrayal with the flag officers, all the way to the 4-star, right? Mutinous response to all of this, and protecting, and just the amount of money they've poured into sending the CAO, that was an asymmetric warfare officer, to betray us, to pull the army deception tactics against their enemies, like, Gold Star family is their enemy. Um, it is just absolutely stunning, and so Richard absolutely, with all of his communications, was the whistleblower, and they took him downstairs to the arms room, and they took his life. They took his life, and then they stole his body, and this was all a code red. This was all a code red, okay? With the director of emergency services in on it, with the CID in on it, with the FBI in on it. Don't forget that Colin Wetton, the assistant special agent in charge, is the one that leaked the identity of our son to the cartel. The cartel were absolutely infiltrated on Fort Bliss. And so this was a big operation to traffic Richard's body to Mexico, where evidence indicates, huge, that his body was disposed of at Plenitude Crematorium, and that it looks like the removal, the harvesting of his organs. And today is just huge breaking news with Argo Oil. And I tried to put it up on Facebook where people could understand what's going on, because we absolutely realize that a lot of this is, just so convoluted, or what's the better word, that it's so involved. This pipeline, Jeffrey Epstein with John of God, and we put up the maps, and then we add the faces, and we let you know who's um, the Chicago entity, the Barack Obamas, the Oprahs, the Bill Sanders, and you might not know who Bill Sanders is, so we have to explain. That is Beto O'Rourke's father. Then you're like, okay, Beto O'Rourke, is he even important? And well, they were trying to get him in the White House. He had support from Obama. He had support from Oprah. He had support from the billionaire father-in-law, Bill Sanders, right? And these are land barons, you could call Bill Sanders, the billionaire, or like a land baron, with Cesar Duarte owning these ranches, and like Epstein, right, wanting to own all that property, um, and absolutely up to no good. And now this whole connection with the um, Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Cuarón family. And yesterday, I let everyone know, public notice, that Jose Luis Arellano Cuarón, one of her sons, who had been arrested because of the Plenitude crematorium that was raided. People say, no one's doing anything. There's so much being done, but it's not being reported. And one of those things that was done was the raid on Plenitude Crematorium right there over the border, that were dealing with funeral homes that were transnational, that had that led right back to Fort Bliss. Okay, transnational funeral home. And of course, the prime suspect, Tavita Nusa, CID agent that had his badge revoked in 2021, his credentials yanked from him. His brother, Solomona Nusa, was the mortuary operations officer. Okay. And of course, tied to Leilani Hart, tied to Dallas Hart, which was our son's platoon leader, and tied to James Hart, IDS Pablo, in the VA, meaning disability benefits, which we believe there's fraud there also, loads of fraud. So you have the VA benefits with the funeral homes. They had it all worked out. Um, and now you have the owner, Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Cuarón, of this Plenitude Crematorium ground, but with a family business. It's a family business, right? The Purchase Arellano Cuarón family business. And the one son that was arrested, that was there during the raid, who was arrested, was let out on, like, the way I can explain it is a Mexican type bond, because the cases are still active. And what do I mean by cases? There's a state case going on and a federal case. And the people in Mexico are absolutely up in arms. And it is the most dangerous place. And yet they find the courage to write the president of Mexico and say, no way should this guy be let out on bond, when a judge is saying, well, they didn't conceal the bodies. Over 400 rat infested corpses that they had kept, even with a working oven, and gave the families construction material that was pulverized in the urns. Okay. And of course, being a narco crematorium, being a um, place where bodies would be um, disposed of in criminal activities. So this judge, we know because of our intelligence, he's dirty. Okay. But the cases aren't over, and the people in Mexico are up in arms. It's silence in El Paso, even though this is a transnational business. Okay. And it's interesting that there is not concern and people gathering together to write President Trump a letter, right, about what's going on with this absolutely crimes against humanity, sacrilegious crimes against humanity. Um, that is just uh, with all the fraud and everything, with all the fraud, um, exploitation of migrants, everything, and I guess maybe that's why some people don't want, like Veronica Escobar, don't she likes to exploit the migrants, right? So maybe that's why she's not mentioning this terrible crime. And maybe because she might be very good friends with the purchase Arellano Cuarón family. She might be very good friends because this is the same circles that they run in. They live, this Arellano Cuarón family, purchase Arellano Cuarón family, right next to Beto O'Rourke, okay? Right next to, and owns um, these restaurants and everything where they're like, fine dining with um, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego, right? Which was a huge endorser of both, of Beto O'Rourke, right? Of Beto O'Rourke, meaning against President Trump, right? He was absolutely a big endorser. And here he is, even after this raid, having fine dining, you know, with Rafael Arellano Cuarón, being spotted out there. And now um, you see the corrupt judge letting Jose Luis, maybe Samaniago's going to go have some fine dining with Jose Luis next, right? This, well, because, he wants to ride in his $150,000 Audi SUV, right? Or they'll go and pick up Carlos Manuel Salas, who has residency there in El Paso too, illegally, because he is a public official in Mexico. He's a prosecutor over there, okay? And this is why this is so insane, because the corruption is so blatant. The corruption, the compromising, because of course Rafael knows that Carlos Manuel Salas has residency legally in the United States, with his house, with his car, with his license, with his Texas license, with his, uh, you know, um, uh, weekend jaunts, that because he lives in the country club area in Juarez, Mexico. So he just uses, the El Paso for his, you know, I guess, sweet spot or whatever. I don't know. And Raphael was like, okay, Carlos, get my brother out of there. Get my brother out of there, because I will tell on you to the Americans and to the Mexican government that you are, having a residency in El Paso when you're not allowed. You're breaking federal Mexican laws, and then you're violating your own residency there in the United States. Um, but of course, Jose Jose Luis is also doing the same thing by going over to the United States while, this case is pending, right? They don't, I guess it's too dangerous over there, but it's not dangerous enough for the people to get courage to cry out and write which gives me the shivers, really, that they have that kind of courage, because I know how dangerous it is over there, because it's a narco state, right? It's an absolute narco state, but they are still raising their voices to the president of Mexico there. And I think we should join them. I think we should raise our voices and say, this cannot happen, and be allowed to come over into the United States as well and take advantage of well, it has already. It has already come over, and that's the whole point, because our son's remains, and they've only identified 180 of the over 400 bodies, and it's been months, because and we know that some of those bodies are American citizens. Um, and they show signs of torture. Okay. And so we need to know the truth of what happened right over there, especially when that Plenitude crematorium is owned by the Purchase Arellano Cuarón family, right? Who have Cano still in the United States, who own Argus Oil and Gas, right? Registered. Get this, and I'll bring it up, because I think it's so important. I'll bring it up. So yeah, here it is. Make sure. Yeah. So, um, so Argus Oil and Gas, that Rafael Arellano Cuarón own, and it's El Paso based, right? Not only is it El Paso based, it is right there and I don't think I can zoom in. Can I zoom in on this? See if I can zoom in. But Argo, it's in the same address as El Paso Matters, y'all. The same address as El Paso Matters. I can't even tell you um, what that means. What It's just jaw dropping, because now you know who's protecting them, right? You know what's going on, because you can put the puzzle pieces together. But they are being sued. Argon Oil and Gas LLC is being sued. This is very recent. It was just a gift from God again. Really, I'm serious. This was just, you know, search and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open to you. That is what is coming into my mind, because we had no idea that Argon Oil and Gas was being sued, right? And so it just was, and just recently. So this is breaking news for everybody, that they are being sued, and this is the owners of the Plenitude crematorium that are being sued. Okay, and they are letting Jose Luis out on this kind of injunction bond or whatever. How the Mexican government does it is a little different. Um, it's just stunning. When they are in the same building, this is the building here. See, this is the same building that give an office to Argo Oil and Gas and El Paso Matters, right? El Paso Matters, which every time you say El Paso Matters, you need to say El Paso Community Foundation, because El Paso Community Foundation controls El Paso Matters. And he's trying real hard to say, oh no, El Paso Matters is not controlled by El Paso Community Foundation, but they are. They absolutely are. And so there's just so much here to, because the connection with El Paso Matters and is that Beto O'Rourke's brother-in-law, now since divorced, but they share children. So he's uh, when you have children, you're just always a brother-in-law, right? And so his brother-in-law is the CEO of El Paso Community Foundation Board of Directors, Eric Pearson. Okay, Eric Pearson is the brother-in-law of Beto O'Rourke. Okay, can't make this stuff up. That absolutely through donations, through all of its past, is totally connected, or the primary entity behind El Paso Matters. Okay, so that connects, and Beto O'Rourke is a big donor, right? A big donor to that. So, and we've written the donors. We've written the donors to let them know what's going on. So we have done our due diligence, because we had to find out who the donors were. It's a lot of research. So, and here we have Rafael's LinkedIn, where he's saying all the different businesses that he's kind of giving his, let me see if I can get up real close. Oh, I can't see it, y'all. But it's Plenitude Crematorium. It's, I know, Argo Oil and Gas. I know these restaurants here. Oh, yeah. Finance director for the City magazine, right? Because his wife works for the City. Well, they're divorced too now, but yeah, Vanilla nightclub. Um, I think that fancy restaurant too. The Plum City nightclub, right? So he has they have they have a lot of assets, right? And the people need to know, because with Jose Luis Arellano Cuarón violating Mexican law and his residency status in the United States, they can absolutely go after this family's assets, right? And look, they're being sued now. They're being sued, but they have lots of property um, in Chihuahua, Mexico, and then in New Mexico and in El Paso. Lots of property. One house right beside Beto O'Rourke. So not only is Rafael the neighbor of Bob Moore of El Paso Matters with the El Paso Community Foundation, um, but also the neighbor to Beto O'Rourke. And so this is and we know that Beto O'Rourke is connected to this whole Epstein investigation. Absolutely, because of the his father-in-law's land right north of Zorro Ranch, bordering north of Zorro Ranch. His his known false statements with the Walmart mass shooting targeting President Trump. That, when the evidence was very clear and he should never have done what he did, And then there's several, loads of evidence against him, why he is part of this pipeline, why he, of course, uh, employing the family of La Diabla, okay, which is totally connected to Plenitude Crematoria and the funeral home um, debacle. So Beto O'Rourke absolutely is connected to um, this Plenitude Crematorium. And absolutely, this is all connected to Jeffrey Epstein, John of God, well, the Chicago Jeffrey Epstein, John of God pipeline. Um, it just, um, yeah, it's, it makes us very happy that they're getting sued because a lot of information is going to come out from that. And yes, thank you so much, Cordelia. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming on so late. Cordelia Fox, thank you for Justice for Richard Halliday. Um, so does Ricardo Samaniego. Yes, Ricardo Samaniego plays a huge part in this because I'll tell you why. He is very connected to William Sanders. William Sanders, the billionaire father in law of Beto O'Rourke. Thank you for reminding me to talk about this because Ricardo Samaniego, as the county judge, which he's not, that's not a judge, that's just a position. But I don't know why they call it a judge. It's like tradition or whatever. But Ricardo Samaniego is um, the political surety for public funds for the projects that Bill Sanders submits that he wants to do and get taxpayers to pay for it for whatever he wants to do and that he can get the contract. So he is the politics and the assurance of public funding for um, William Sanders. You know, he didn't make the $1 billion, honestly. I can tell you that much. And that he sold his ranch in 2019, right when Zorro Ranch was sold, is also, and they bought it at the same time too. You know, okay, one is at the end of 1990 and the other one is 1993, but it's the same time they were running this terrible thing um, side by side. He was side by side to Epstein running this terrible pipeline that absolutely included John of God and Santa Fe being an epicenter. I'm almost thinking that Santa Fe is more of an epicenter than El Paso um, because of the elite connection with that, with Oprah and with Obama and with Bill Sanders converging there on Santa Fe with Epstein, and all of Epstein's clients are those that he was doing the Ponzi scheme with, you know, um, promising them that they're going to find eternal life and eternal richness and turn it into some kind of financial instrument. And, you know, it's just absolutely, I think today was a really good day, a good reminder that from ashes we came and to ashes from dust we came, to dust we will return, right? So it is really, I'm speechless with this breaking news. I really am, and I need to make sure that I have the right words to tell everybody and ask you to please share this information. And if you are Spanish speaking, God bless you. Please send this to Juarez. Get this message out for the families that are victims of this plenitude crematorium, that they will absolutely know what's going on with this family that committed the worst humanitarian atrocities. And of course, which includes, we believe, our son's remains also. And so we stand side by side with the families. I absolutely understand what they're feeling. And yeah, these are just evil people. And right there with El Paso Matters, and El Paso Matters is silent, just like with the Mayella family, right? The Mayella family that are family to the Patrick Crucius's family, which includes Brian Crucius, the father, a disciple of John of God, living in Allen, Texas, where Erica Kirk's, or Charlie Kirk's, um, security is from, and she keeps that failed security. I just, uh, why is an El Paso Matters reporting on that? Well, now you know why. Now you know why. They are a protection racket. They are engaging in political activism, right? It's all about protecting their political, um, their political agenda, right? Their political agenda. So I should go live in TikTok. I was in TikTok, and I was so attacked in TikTok. These attack dogs, right? Bob Moore has attack dogs. You see Facebook, you know, they will put lies in the recommendations part. They will take the time out to write in there to attack you. And the people that want justice and want to see people held accountable for this, they are the ones that are real live citizens that are working hard with families, with jobs and everything. They're not being paid by Soros and Beto O'Rourke and Woody Hunt and all that to sit there on the computer and write all of these attack reviews and stuff, right? Um, it's just, they have these attack keyboard dogs, right? That just attack all the time. And so, we, to get where we are at, to have the following that we are at, even being shadow banned, even with the media, just doing a blackout on Richard, on the Mayellas, on the El Paso Community Foundation, on El Paso Matters, on El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, on James Bonneau Montoya being illegally not installed properly, um, and the medical examiner not even uh, being legally in the country, much less qualified for the position of medical examiner. All the fraud that's going on at the border, the media is a blackout on it. You have these journalists that could make a name of themselves with reporting on this case and all the surrounding the offshoots case of all of this, how it connects to Charlie Kirk, how it connects to the Walmart mass shooting, how it connects to Jeffrey Epstein and the pipeline, the criminal trafficking pipeline that is international. you would think investigative journalists would do that, and it's all being exposed. They're being exposed for who they are. So we're very happy to be where we're at because you have been um, sharing. And, I'm absolutely not opposed to go on TikTok or go on X or, well, we're on X, right? We're on X and um, YouTube and all that, but the shadow banning is real. And Facebook, the followers have done an excellent job and sharing. And that's why our numbers, we're reaching millions. Right now, I can report to you that our numbers are in the millions. And, we're in the millions and still there's a blackout. Um, it's just, but not for long. But not for long. They're going to, especially with this is why this breaking news is so important and why I shared the translations from the advertisement, the old advertisement from Rafael, Arellano, Cuarón, why that's so important, that post, because with being sued, a lot of information is going to come out. And any of that information is connected to our son's case. Any and all of it. Any and all of it is connected to our son's case because there's more to this, y'all. There's more to this that reaches into the FBI office, that reaches into these businesses and the land deals and the contracts, and it reaches into Connell Wetton and Connell Wetton. Yes, the FBI, but that is a connection into Mexico. Um, and it just and the huge cartel. So, and we know that Connell Wetton is the one that leaked. He has the alliance. He's part of this Mormon faction El Paso cartel that I've been talking about. Um, uh, people don't want to say it what it is. They'll say all the other religious groups, but for some reason, they don't want you to say a Mormon faction. And this is what this is. This is a Mormon faction. It's huge. It's all about deception. And we wrote the Mormon leadership. They have been silent. We've wrote the donors of El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation. They have been silent. Um, it's we've written Texas legislature. We've written the media. We are in contact with the media. Um, we've written and we're in contact with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz absolutely is implicated in all of this because he had our whistleblower complaint from Judge Roger Rodriguez in January of 2022. He was confronted October 2022. Um, he knew um, that Richard was no longer alive, that there was foul play, that there was tampering going on and leaking going on, and threats and everything against us, right? Threats and harassment, the worst type. He knew that. And so Veronica Escobar absolutely knows this case. She's keeping track of it, okay? And she denied us two congressionals, and also harassment, threats. I just can't even describe it because it's just such a betrayal of the taxpayer, such a betrayal of the oath of office. because they do this all on taxpayer funds. And with this case, there's going to be so much information, and we're very grateful. So when we know more, we're looking into it, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we will absolutely be reporting tomorrow more information. And as you see, every day, there is new information and breaking news and notifications that need to go out. And so please share. Please share. Um, there are so many victims, and they need to be informed because so much is happening right now. Um, that gives them a real positive chance on getting justice and holding these people accountable. So, thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.